He never spoke of it, not to his wife, not to the world. But in 1939, one man quietly saved 669 lives from the hands of the Nazis. This is the story of Sir Nicholas Winton. In the shadow of war, Europe was on the brink of chaos. Families were torn apart, fleeing the oncoming Nazi threat. Amidst the turmoil, a young London stockbroker saw the unimaginable suffering of Jewish children. Nicholas Winton knew he had to act. With determination, he set up a rescue operation, arranging trains to take children from Czechoslovakia to the safety of Britain. He forged documents, secured funds, and navigated through the treacherous bureaucracy, all in secret. The children boarded the trains, leaving behind a world of fear and stepping into a future of hope. Years passed. The war ended. Winton's brave deeds remained hidden, even from his family. It wasn't until 1988, when his wife discovered an old scrapbook in their attic, that the world learned of his heroism. In a heart-wrenching scene, Winton was invited to a TV studio, unaware of the emotional twist awaiting him. As the host revealed his secret, the audience, filled with the very children he saved, stood up one by one. Tears streamed down Winton's face as he realized the magnitude of his actions. Sir Nicholas Winton's story is a testament to the power of one person's courage and compassion. He saved 669 lives, each one a testament to his legacy. As we light a candle in tribute to his memory, let us remember his words. If it's not impossible, there must be a way to do it. This has been the story of 669 lives saved by the quiet hero, Sir Nicholas Winton. Why do 100% of 669 children owe their lives to one man? In the late 1930s, Europe was on the brink of darkness. Amidst the looming Nazi threat, one British stockbroker did the unimaginable. Sir Nicholas Winton, with sheer determination and a heart of gold, organized trains to carry Jewish children to safety. He forged documents, navigated through bureaucratic red tape, and risked his own life, all in secret. Fast forward to 1988, on a quiet TV show, the world discovered his secret. An old man in the audience, tears streaming down his face, stood as the host revealed the identities of his fellow attendees, the very children he saved, now adults. The room rose in a standing ovation. Nicholas Winton once said, "If something is not impossible, then there must be a way to do it." His legacy? 669 lives and thousands more through generations. Sir Nicholas Winton, proof that one person can change the world. Candlelight flickers, and his words glow on screen. 669 lives. The year was 1938. Europe was on the brink of a cataclysmic change, a change that would alter the course of history forever. The continent was a powder keg, with tensions simmering just beneath the surface, ready to explode at any moment. A shadow had fallen over Europe. Dark clouds gathered ominously over its cities, casting long, foreboding shadows on the streets below. The air was thick with uncertainty and fear, as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable storm. In Prague, the heart of Czechoslovakia, fear gripped the Jewish community. The once vibrant and bustling Jewish quarter now seemed cloaked in a pall of dread. Families who had lived there for generations felt the weight of impending doom pressing down on them. The Nazis were on the move, their hateful ideology spreading like wildfire. Their march was relentless, their propaganda insidious. Posters and slogans filled the streets, poisoning minds and sowing seeds of hatred and division. The specter of war loomed ever larger. Jewish families felt increasingly trapped, their world shrinking with each passing day. The walls seemed to close in around them as options for escape dwindled. They packed their belongings, not knowing if they would ever return to the homes they had known all their lives. Parents whispered in hushed tones, their faces etched with worry. Conversations were filled with fear and uncertainty as they tried to shield their children from the harsh realities that were closing in. Every decision felt fraught with peril, every choice a potential risk. The future seemed bleak, especially for their precious children. Innocent and unaware, the children played in the streets, their laughter a stark contrast to the somber mood of their parents. They looked out of windows, their eyes filled with questions that had no easy answers. Refuge was desperately needed, but doors were slamming shut across Europe and beyond. Borders that once offered hope now became barriers. Families were turned away, left to face an uncertain fate. The world seemed to be closing in, leaving them with nowhere to turn, no safe haven in sight. Across the English Channel, a young stockbroker named Nicholas Winton was about to take his Christmas holiday. He was a man of routine, dedicated to his work, and looking forward to a well-deserved break. Little did he know his life was about to take a dramatic turn. He had received a call from a friend in Prague, pleading for help. The friend spoke of the dire situation unfolding in Czechoslovakia, where Jewish families were facing increasing persecution and danger. The call was not just a request, it was a desperate cry for assistance. The urgency in his friend's voice was impossible to ignore. Nicholas could sense the fear and desperation, and he knew he couldn't turn a blind eye. The weight of the situation pressed heavily on his conscience.
I cancelled my trip to Switzerland. It was a difficult decision, but I knew it was the right one. The thought of enjoying a holiday while others were in peril was unbearable, and boarded a train to Prague. The journey was long and filled with uncertainty. I had no idea what awaited me, but I was determined to help in any way I could. I wanted to see the situation for myself. As I walked through the streets of Prague, the reality of the crisis became painfully clear. Families were being torn apart, and the future seemed bleak for so many. What I witnessed there would change my life and the lives of hundreds of children forever. The faces of the children, filled with fear and uncertainty, haunted me. I knew I had to act, and quickly. This was the beginning of a mission that would become my life's work, a mission to save as many children as possible from the horrors of war. I began organizing documents, reaching out to governments, and coordinating with other volunteers. It was a race against time, but I was driven by the hope of giving these children a chance at a better future. The sight of children boarding trains to safety, waving goodbye to their families, was both heartbreaking and uplifting. Each child saved was a victory, a beacon of hope in a dark time. In the end, we managed to save 669 children. It was a collective effort, and I was just one part of a larger movement. But knowing that we made a difference, that we gave these children a chance at life, is something I will carry with me forever.
Winton knew he had to act fast. The situation in Europe was deteriorating rapidly, and the lives of countless children were at stake. The rise of the Nazi regime had created an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty, and Winton felt a deep sense of urgency to do something, anything to help. He set up a makeshift office in his hotel room, transforming the small space into a hub of activity. Papers were strewn everywhere, and the air was thick with the tension of the monumental task ahead. Winton worked tirelessly, often late into the night, driven by the knowledge that time was running out, and began organizing a rescue operation. He reached out to contacts, made countless phone calls, and wrote letter after letter, each one a plea for help. The logistics were daunting, but Winton's resolve never wavered. He knew that every moment counted, and he was determined to save as many children as possible. Time was of the essence. Every tick of the clock was a reminder of the urgency of his mission. The political climate was volatile, and the window of opportunity was closing fast. Winton worked with a sense of purpose, knowing that the lives of innocent children depended on his efforts. He meticulously compiled lists of children, desperate pleas for safety filling every line. Each name represented a young life in peril, a child who needed a chance to escape the horrors that were unfolding. Winton's list grew longer by the day, a testament to the scale of the crisis and the enormity of his task. Winton navigated bureaucratic roadblocks, securing exit permits from the Czech government and entry visas from other countries, primarily Great Britain. His determination was unwavering. He faced countless obstacles, from skeptical officials to complex regulations, but he persevered. Winton's diplomatic skills and relentless drive were crucial in overcoming these challenges. He found foster families willing to open their homes to these vulnerable children. It was a monumental task, but Winton's compassion and dedication inspired many to help. These families provided not just shelter, but hope and a chance for a new life. The Kindertransport was a beacon of humanity in a dark time, and Winton's efforts were a lifeline for those who had nowhere else to turn. Train platforms became stages of heartbreaking farewells.
Parents, their faces etched with sorrow, bravely surrendered their children to the unknown.
They clung to the hope that this agonizing separation was the only way to ensure their survival.
Children, some as young as 5, boarded trains with nothing but a small suitcase and a label around their neck.
They carried with them the weight of their parents' love and the uncertainty of tomorrow. Through sheer grit and determination, Nicholas Winton managed to evacuate 669 children from Czechoslovakia. The last train left Prague on September 1, 1939, the day World War II began. Winton's heroic actions remained largely unknown for decades. He never sought recognition for what he had done. The war ended, and Winton returned to his life in England, his extraordinary courage hidden in plain sight. In 1988, Winton's wife discovered a scrapbook in their attic. It contained lists of the children he had saved, along with letters from their parents. The story of Winton's bravery finally came to light. The world was astounded.
The British Schindler, as he came to be known, was reunited with some of the children he had rescued, now adults with families of their own.
Sir Nicholas Winton, knighted in 2003 for his humanitarian work, died in 2015 at the age of 106 years. His legacy, however, lives on through the generations. Winton's story is a testament to the power of one person to make a significant difference in the world. His courage and compassion in the face of unimaginable evil serve as an inspiration to us all. Nicholas Winton, a name etched in history, a beacon of hope in humanity's darkest hour. In 1938, he was not a soldier nor a politician. He was a young stockbroker living in London. His life, ordinary, predictable. Yet, destiny had other plans. Winton was planning a skiing holiday. It was December, Christmas was approaching, but a phone call from Prague changed everything. His friend, deeply troubled, urged him to come immediately. Europe was teetering on the brink, and innocent lives hung in the balance. Winton arrived in Prague to find chaos and fear. The Nazi shadow loomed large, casting a dark pall over the city, especially its Jewish community. Refugees, desperate and displaced, pleaded for help, for escape from the impending nightmare. Winton couldn't ignore their plight. He established a makeshift office in his hotel room, a lifeline in the heart of the storm. He meticulously recorded names, ages, desperate pleas for sanctuary. He vowed to do everything in his power to save them, to snatch them from the jaws of fate. Time was the enemy. Bureaucracy, a formidable obstacle. Winton navigated a labyrinth of paperwork, forged documents, and negotiated with unyielding officials. He secured exit permits from Czechoslovakia, but Britain posed another challenge. Undeterred, Winton returned to London. He tirelessly raised funds, found foster families willing to open their homes and hearts. Each life saved, a victory. Each child placed on a train to safety, a testament to his unwavering resolve. Train stations became stages of heartbreak and hope. Parents, torn between love and survival, made the agonizing decision to send their children away, to an uncertain future, a glimmer of hope in a darkening world. Imagine the scene. Children, clutching small suitcases, their eyes wide with fear and confusion, holding on to their parents one last time. The air thick with unspoken words, with the weight of goodbyes, the echo of shattered lives. Section 5, The Unsung Hero. 8 trains departed, carrying hope and the promise of life. 669 children, their futures uncertain, their pasts forever etched in their hearts. Winton, the architect of their salvation, remained in the shadows, his heroic deeds largely unknown. The war ended and life went on. Winton returned to his life, his extraordinary courage hidden in plain sight. He never sought recognition, never craved accolades. His was a silent heroism, born of compassion and an unwavering belief in the sanctity of life. Decades passed. The children, now adults, built lives, families, legacies. They carried with them the whispers of their past, the haunting memories, and the profound gratitude for the stranger who saved them. Then, in 1988, a television program brought Winton's story to light. The world watched in astonishment as his extraordinary actions were revealed, as the children he rescued, now with children of their own, expressed their heartfelt gratitude. The reunion was a testament to the enduring power of hope, of courage, of one man's unwavering belief in humanity. Winton, knighted by the Queen, showered with accolades, remained humble. "I've always felt it was the most interesting and worthwhile thing I did," he said, and in those simple words we see the measure of the man, not for glory, not for recognition, but for the sheer, unadulterated good of saving innocent lives. Nicholas Winton's story is a poignant reminder of the power of one. One person driven by compassion can make an immeasurable difference. It is a story that transcends time, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, light can emerge. His legacy lives on, not just in the lives he saved, but in the countless others inspired by his selflessness. He reminds us that we all have a responsibility to stand up for what is right, to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Don't leave it to the others, Sir Nicholas Winton once said. Let his words be a call to action. Let us all strive to be a little kinder, a little braver, a little more like Nicholas Winton. For in the tapestry of life, even the smallest acts of kindness can have the most profound impact. Let us honor his legacy by embracing compassion, by fighting injustice, and by never forgetting the 669 children, their lives forever intertwined with the legacy of the man who dared to care, the man who dared to act, the man who dared to make a difference. The year was 1939. War cast a long shadow across Europe. Fear hung heavy in the air. At a Prague train station, families huddled together. They clutched their meager belongings. Children, wide-eyed and confused, clung to their mothers' skirts. This train held their last hope, escape from a nightmare. A whistle blew, signaling departure. But this train wouldn't leave. The tracks ahead were blocked, a steel curtain falling on their dreams of freedom. The last train out had been stopped. War had begun. Far away in London, a young man named Nicholas Winton received the devastating news. He had poured his heart and soul into organizing this escape route for children in Czechoslovakia. The Nazi threat was escalating, and he knew he had to act fast.
I wasn't a diplomat or a politician, just a stockbroker, an ordinary man driven by an extraordinary sense of compassion. I believed every child deserved a chance at life.
The year before, Winton had witnessed firsthand the desperation in Prague. Families torn apart, fear etched on every face. Jewish families were being targeted, stripped of their rights, their homes, their dignity. Winton knew he couldn't stand by. He vowed to do everything in his power to save as many children as possible. Section 4. A race against time. Back in England, Winton worked tirelessly. He set up an office in his own home, his dining room table transformed into a command center. He meticulously collected photographs and information about hundreds of children. He raised funds for their passage and found families willing to open their hearts and homes. It was a race against time. Every visa signed, every child placed on a train, a small victory. Section 5. The Reunion. Decades later, a television show invited Winton as a guest. He sat in the audience, an unassuming elderly man. The host spoke of a remarkable rescue effort during the war. He asked, "Is there anyone in the audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton?"
The camera panned across the crowd. One by one, people around Winton stood up. Tears streamed down their faces. They were the children he had saved, now grown old, their lives forever intertwined with his.
Section 6. A Legacy of Love. Winton's story, once hidden in the shadows of history, came to light. He was hailed as a hero, his courage and compassion an inspiration to the world. The hundreds of children he saved, now grandparents themselves, became known as Winton's children. They were a living testament to the power of one person to make a difference. Section 7. A Light in the Darkness. Sir Nicholas Winton passed away in 2015 at the age of 106. He left behind a legacy of love and hope, a legacy that reminds us that even in the darkest of times the light of human kindness can shine through. His story is a candle we must keep burning, a beacon reminding us that every life is precious, and every act of courage matters.
We should try to live each day looking back with gratitude and looking forward with hope, Winton once said. Let us honor his memory by doing just that.
In the quiet attic of a suburban home, where the air was thick with the scent of old memories and forgotten times, Greta Winton stumbled upon a treasure trove hidden within a dusty scrapbook, a relic of the past that had been waiting to be discovered. pages filled with photos of children, their faces frozen in time, their innocent eyes staring back at her, each gaze telling a silent story of a bygone era. Each picture accompanied by a name, a date, and a story, meticulously documented with care and precision. This wasn't just any scrapbook. It held the key to a secret her husband, Nicholas Winton, had kept hidden for half a century, a secret that would change everything she knew about him. It was a secret that spoke of extraordinary courage, unwavering compassion, and a heart that had silently borne the weight of a monumental deed: the rescue of 669 children from the clutches of Nazi terror, a feat that seemed almost impossible. The year was 1988, a time when the world was beginning to look back and reflect on the events that had shaped the modern era. The world was a different place than the Europe of the 1930s, a continent that had once been engulfed in turmoil and despair, a time when darkness had descended upon the continent, casting long shadows over the lives of millions. As Greta delved deeper into the scrapbook, she found herself transported back to those dark days. She unearthed a tale of her husband's past, a past filled with bravery and selflessness, a past that had remained shrouded in secrecy, hidden away from the world and even from those closest to him. It was a tale that needed to be told, a tale that deserved to be heard by all, a tale of hope, resilience, and the indomitable human spirit.
Nicholas, who are these children, she asked, her voice trembling with curiosity and a hint of fear.
For Nicholas Winton, a man who had lived a quiet life, the time for secrets had come to an end. The weight of his silence had grown too heavy to bear. The time had come to open up, to share the truth that had been locked away for so long. With a heavy heart but a clear conscience, he began to share his story. A story that had been waiting in the shadows. A story that had begun decades ago in the heart of a continent on the brink of war. A story of courage and sacrifice. The scrapbook became a portal to the past, a window into a time of great peril and even greater heroism, a testament to the bravery of one man who dared to make a difference, who chose to act when others stood by. It revealed a hidden chapter of history, a chapter that had been forgotten by many but lived on in the hearts of those who were saved. A chapter where hope flickered amidst the encroaching darkness, where the light of humanity shone through the bleakest of times, and where the actions of an ordinary stockbroker echoed through generations, saving hundreds of lives and inspiring countless others. The 1930s in Europe were a time of growing unease, a period marked by political instability and economic hardship. The shadow of Nazi Germany loomed large, casting a pall over the continent, as the Nazi regime's influence spread like a dark cloud. Anti-Semitism, once a simmering prejudice, was rapidly boiling over into open persecution, fueled by hateful propaganda and discriminatory laws. Jews in Germany and Nazi-occupied territories faced increasing discrimination, stripped of their rights, their livelihoods, and their dignity. Their businesses were shuttered, their homes invaded, and their very existence threatened. News trickled out of Germany, stories of families torn apart, of businesses seized, of individuals disappearing into the night. The world began to hear whispers of the atrocities being committed. The world watched, some in disbelief, others with growing apprehension. The international community was divided, unsure of how to respond to the escalating crisis. The storm clouds of war were gathering, and for the Jewish population of Europe, the future seemed bleak. Fear and uncertainty gripped their hearts as they faced an increasingly hostile environment. In Britain, a young stockbroker named Nicholas Winton watched the events unfold with growing concern. He was deeply troubled by the reports of persecution and violence. He couldn't ignore the plight of the innocent, the fear that gripped Jewish families, the uncertainty of their fate. The images and stories haunted him, compelling him to take action. A humanitarian at heart, Winton felt a moral imperative to act, to offer a beacon of hope in a world rapidly descending into darkness. He knew that he had to do something to make a difference.
A skiing trip to Czechoslovakia in December 1938 would change the course of my life. It was during this trip that I first encountered the true extent of the crisis. Visiting a refugee camp near Prague, I witnessed firsthand the desperation of Jewish families fleeing Nazi persecution. The camp was filled with people who had lost everything. Mothers clung to their children, their faces etched with worry, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and hope. Fathers whispered hushed goodbyes, their eyes betraying their fear. The uncertainty of their future weighed heavily on them. I was deeply moved by the plight of these refugees. their lives hanging precariously in the balance. The sense of urgency was palpable. I knew I had to do something, anything, to help. The resolve to act became a driving force, pushing me to find ways to offer assistance and hope to those in desperate need.
Back in London, fueled by a sense of urgency, Winton sprang into action. The world was on the brink of war, and he knew that every second counted. He established an office in his mother's house, a modest yet determined setup that would become the nerve center of his operations. His dining room table transformed into a makeshift command center for a daring rescue operation, cluttered with maps, documents, and lists of names. He named his mission the British Committee for Refugees from Czechoslovakia, Children's Section, a bureaucratic title that belied the urgency and compassion driving his efforts. This title, though formal, masked the intense and compassionate drive behind his mission. Winton was not just filling out paperwork, he was fighting to save lives. Winton knew time was of the essence. The political situation was deteriorating rapidly, and he had to act before it was too late. He needed to get as many children out of Czechoslovakia as possible, knowing that each delay could mean the difference between life and death. And he needed to do it fast. The clock was ticking, and every moment lost could seal the fate of another innocent child. He began by contacting embassies in countries around the world, tirelessly reaching out to diplomats and officials. Pleading for visas for the refugee children, he faced a mountain of red tape and resistance. His efforts were met with bureaucratic hurdles, indifference, and in some cases, outright refusal. The world seemed indifferent to the plight of these children, but Winton refused to give up. His determination was unshakable, and he pressed on with relentless resolve.
I organized transport, coordinating with various agencies and transport companies to ensure safe passage for the children. Arranged for foster families in England, finding homes that would welcome these young refugees with open arms. And raised funds to cover the costs of travel and care, appealing to the generosity of the public and private donors. Working tirelessly, day and night, my small team of volunteers and I became a lifeline for desperate families facing an unimaginable choice: to send their children away to an uncertain future or to face the horrors of Nazi persecution together. To send their children away to an uncertain future or to face the horrors of Nazi persecution together. The emotional farewells were heart-wrenching, but the hope of safety kept them going.
Winton's plan was audacious, a bold and daring move in the face of overwhelming odds. Fraught with challenges and uncertainties, every step was a gamble, but one he was willing to take. Yet, driven by an unwavering moral compass, he refused to be deterred. His resolve was as strong as ever. He knew that each child he saved represented a life spared, a future preserved. The stakes were incredibly high, and so with each passing day, Winton and his team raced against time, working with a sense of urgency that matched the dire situation. Determined to snatch as many innocent souls as possible from the jaws of tyranny, they pressed on, knowing that their efforts could change the course of many lives. Train platforms became theaters of heartbreak and hope. Parents, their faces etched with anguish, bid farewell to their children, their hearts torn between the love for their offspring and the desperate need to secure their safety. The air was thick with unspoken words, choked sobs, and the heavy weight of uncertainty. Children, some as young as 5, clutched their meager belongings, a favorite toy, a family photograph, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. They didn't fully comprehend the gravity of the situation, but they sensed the despair in their parents' eyes, the finality of those tearful embraces.
Winton and his volunteers worked tirelessly, shepherding the children onto trains, comforting the distraught parents left behind. They provided reassurance, offering words of hope in the face of unimaginable sorrow. They understood the profound sacrifices we were making, the agonizing decision to entrust our most precious possessions to the hands of strangers.
As the trains pulled out of the stations, carrying their precious cargo toward an uncertain future, Winton knew that he had become the custodian of hundreds of fragile lives. He had made a promise to those parents, a silent vow to protect their children, to shield them from the encroaching darkness. And he was determined to keep that promise, no matter the cost. The year was 1988. The world was a different place, yet some stories of heroism and compassion remained timeless. An unassuming elderly man named Nicholas Winton sat on the stage of a British television show. He appeared calm and collected, unaware of the emotional storm that was about to unfold. He had no idea what was about to happen. The audience too was on the edge of their seats, sensing that something extraordinary was about to be revealed.
Tonight, we reveal a story of remarkable courage and compassion, a story that has remained hidden for decades, waiting for the right moment to be told. Over 50 years ago, just before the outbreak of World War II, a clandestine operation was carried out to rescue children from Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia. This mission was fraught with danger and required immense bravery.
The host turned to Mr. Winton and asked, with a tone that hinted at the gravity of the moment,
Is there anyone in the audience tonight who owes their life to Nicholas Winton? This question hung in the air, heavy with anticipation. If so, please stand up. The silence that followed was almost palpable, as everyone waited to see what would happen next.
What happened next was nothing short of miraculous. It sent chills down the spines of viewers across the nation. The atmosphere in the studio was electric, charged with emotion and disbelief. One by one, individuals throughout the audience rose to their feet. Each person standing was a testament to the life-saving actions of Nicholas Winton. The camera panned across the sea of faces, revealing men and women of all ages, their eyes welling up with tears. These were not just any audience members, they were the children, now grown, whose lives had been saved by the man sitting before them. They were the children, now adults, who had been given a second chance at life because of Nicholas Winton's bravery and compassion. The realization of this connection brought a wave of emotion that was almost overwhelming. The applause was deafening, a testament to the enduring impact of one man's courage and compassion. It was a moment of collective gratitude and recognition, a moment that transcended time and space. This was the moment the world discovered the extraordinary secret Nicholas Winton had kept hidden for decades, a secret that spoke volumes about the quiet heroism that often goes unnoticed. It was the story of how an ordinary stockbroker from Britain had orchestrated an extraordinary rescue mission, saving hundreds of children from the horrors of the Holocaust. His actions were a beacon of hope in one of history's darkest times. Nicholas Winton's meticulous planning and unwavering determination ensured the safe passage of these children to new lives. His efforts were a testament to the power of individual action in the face of overwhelming adversity. The children he saved went on to lead full lives, contributing to society in countless ways. Their stories are a living legacy of Winton's compassion and bravery. In the years that followed, Nicholas Winton received numerous accolades and awards, but none could compare to the heartfelt gratitude of those he saved. His legacy is a powerful reminder of the difference one person can make. As the show came to a close, the audience's applause echoed the sentiment of millions watching at home. Nicholas Winton's story is a beacon of hope, a testament to the enduring power of compassion and courage. And so the world came to know the quiet hero who had changed the lives of so many, proving that even in the darkest times the light of human kindness can shine through. This is the legacy of Nicholas Winton, a man whose actions will forever be remembered as a shining example of what it means to be truly heroic. Nicholas Winton was not a soldier or a politician. He was an ordinary young man, living an ordinary life, working in the bustling financial district of London. His days were filled with numbers, ledgers, and the humdrum of office life. He was a young man working in finance in London in the 1930s. The world around him was changing rapidly, but his life was relatively stable and predictable. However, his life took an unexpected turn in December 1938, when he received a call from a friend in Prague. This call was not just a casual conversation, it was a desperate plea for help.
My friend pleaded with me to come to Czechoslovakia, where a humanitarian crisis was unfolding. The urgency in his voice was palpable, and I knew this was not something I could ignore. Nazi Germany had annexed the Sudetenland, and fear and uncertainty gripped the country, especially the Jewish community. The once peaceful lives of these families were now overshadowed by the looming threat of persecution.
Winton's friend was involved in efforts to help refugees fleeing the Nazi advance. He was part of a network of brave individuals who were risking everything to save lives. He urged Winton to come and see the situation firsthand, believing that someone with Winton's connections and organizational skills could make a difference. It was a call to action that Winton could not ignore. Believing that someone with Winton's connections and organizational skills could make a difference, his friend implored him to witness the dire circumstances. Winton, moved by the urgency and gravity of the situation, decided to heed the call. Winton heeded the call, traveling to Prague during his Christmas holiday. It was a journey that would change his life forever, opening his eyes to the harsh realities faced by so many. What he witnessed there shook him to his core. The scenes of despair and hopelessness were unlike anything he had ever seen before. Thousands of refugees, many of them Jewish families with young children, were living in desperate conditions. The sight of innocent children suffering was particularly heart-wrenching for Winton. They were crammed into makeshift camps and apartments, facing an uncertain future. The conditions were dire, with little access to basic necessities like food, water, and medical care. Many had been stripped of their homes, possessions, and livelihoods. Their lives had been turned upside down and they were left with nothing but the clothes on their backs and the hope for a better future. They lived in constant fear of being deported to concentration camps. The threat of violence and death loomed over them every day, making their existence a daily struggle for survival. Witnessing this injustice, Winton felt a deep sense of responsibility. He knew he had to do something to help these people, to give them a chance at life and freedom. He began to organize efforts to rescue as many children as possible, working tirelessly to secure visas, transportation, and foster homes for them in Britain. Through his determination and compassion, Winton managed to save 669 children from the horrors of the Holocaust, giving them a new lease on life. His actions were a testament to the power of one individual's courage and humanity in the face of overwhelming adversity. Nicholas Winton's legacy lives on as a beacon of hope and a reminder that even in the darkest times, there are those who will stand up for what is right. The atmosphere in Europe in the late 1930s was one of growing dread. Nazi Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, was becoming increasingly aggressive. Hitler's hateful ideology, which demonized Jews and other minorities, had poisoned the hearts and minds of many. His regime had already begun to implement discriminatory policies against Jews, stripping them of their rights and dignity. The annexation of the Sudetenland was a clear signal of Hitler's expansionist ambitions. Europe watched with bated breath, fearing that Czechoslovakia would be the next target of Nazi aggression. The world had witnessed the horrors of which the Nazi regime was capable. The persecution of Jews and other minorities was well documented, but many countries were reluctant to intervene. Winton was deeply troubled by what he saw in Prague. He knew he had to act, and he had to act fast. The lives of countless children hung in the balance. He couldn't stand by and watch as innocent people were persecuted and driven from their homes. Back in London, Nicholas Winton set up an office in his hotel room. The room was modest, with just a desk, a typewriter, and stacks of papers. But it was from this humble setting that Winton would orchestrate one of the most remarkable rescue missions of the 20th century. He knew time was of the essence. Every tick of the clock was a reminder of the lives hanging in the balance. The situation in Czechoslovakia was deteriorating rapidly, and Winton felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. He began working tirelessly to organize the rescue of children from Czechoslovakia. His days were filled with endless paperwork, phone calls, and meetings. He meticulously planned each step, knowing that any mistake could be catastrophic.
I called it the British Committee for Refugees from Czechoslovakia Children's Section. It was a mouthful, but it conveyed the seriousness and scope of our mission. We were not just rescuing children, we were giving them a chance at life. Finding safe haven for the children was a monumental task. The logistics were daunting. We had to secure transportation, find foster families, and navigate a labyrinth of bureaucratic red tape. Each child represented a unique set of challenges and hopes. Many countries, including the United States and Great Britain, had strict immigration quotas in place, making it difficult to secure entry visas. The political climate was tense, and there was widespread reluctance to accept refugees. But we couldn't afford to be deterred.
Undeterred, Winton used his network of contacts to raise funds and gather support for his cause. He reached out to friends, colleagues, and anyone who would listen. He knew that financial resources were crucial for the success of the mission. He placed advertisements in newspapers seeking foster families willing to open their homes to refugee children. The response was heartening, but it was just the beginning. Each family had to be vetted, and the logistics of matching children to homes were complex. He contacted government officials, pleading for their assistance in expediting visa applications. He wrote countless letters, made numerous phone calls, and even visited offices in person. His persistence was relentless, driven by the urgency of the situation. He knew that every hour counted, The clock was always ticking, and the stakes were incredibly high. Each delay could mean the difference between life and death for a child. Winton's efforts were not without their challenges. The bureaucratic hurdles were immense and the paperwork seemed endless. There were days when the obstacles seemed insurmountable, but Winton's determination never wavered. He faced bureaucratic hurdles, financial constraints, and the ever-present threat of Nazi interference. The Nazis were tightening their grip on Europe, and their reach was extending into every corner of society. Winton had to navigate this dangerous landscape with extreme caution. He had to be discreet, as his operation was not officially sanctioned by the British government. This added another layer of complexity to an already challenging mission. Secrecy was paramount, and any slip-up could jeopardize the entire operation. If the Nazis caught wind of his plans, they would surely try to stop him. The stakes were incredibly high, and the risks were enormous. But Winton knew that the lives of countless children depended on his success. He was willing to take those risks, driven by a deep sense of duty and compassion. Despite the challenges, Winton's efforts bore fruit. Many children were successfully transported to safety, finding new homes and new lives far from the dangers they had left behind. His tireless work and unwavering dedication made a profound difference in the lives of these young refugees. Nicholas Winton's legacy is a testament to the power of individual action in the face of overwhelming odds. His story is a reminder that even in the darkest times, there are those who will stand up and make a difference. His race against time was not just a mission, it was a beacon of hope for generations to come. Nicholas Winton was an ordinary man who achieved extraordinary things. Born in 1909, he grew up in a world on the brink of change. Nicholas was a young stockbroker in London when he decided to visit Prague. He had planned a skiing holiday. Instead, he found himself swept up in a desperate mission. It was 1938. The Nazi shadow was spreading across Europe. Nicholas witnessed firsthand the fear and desperation of Jewish families in Prague. They were trapped, facing an unimaginable future. He knew he had to act. He could not stand by and watch innocent lives be destroyed. A spark of humanity ignited within him, a burning desire to make a difference. The world was on the precipice of war. The Nazi regime was tightening its grip on Europe, and the persecution of Jews was escalating at a terrifying pace. Fear and uncertainty plagued countless families. The dark clouds of the Holocaust were gathering, threatening to engulf all hope. Nicholas Winton refused to be a bystander. He knew he had to act quickly. The situation was dire, and time was running out for the Jewish families trapped in Czechoslovakia. With each passing day, the danger grew. Winton felt the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. He was determined to make a difference, to be a beacon of hope in a world consumed by darkness. Nicholas returned to London with a plan. He established an office in his hotel room. He called it the British Committee for Refugees from Czechoslovakia. He worked tirelessly, day and night, to create a lifeline for Jewish children. He gathered names. He collected photographs. He raised money. Winton organized 8 trains from Prague to London. Each train carried precious cargo children, separated from their parents, facing an unknown future, with a mixture of fear and hope. These trains became symbols of resilience, a testament to the unwavering spirit of those determined to survive. Imagine the heart-wrenching scenes at the train stations, parents saying goodbye to their children, not knowing if they would ever see them again. Tears streamed down their faces, a mix of sorrow and a desperate hope for their children's safety.
The children, clutching small suitcases and treasured toys, boarded the trains with trepidation and uncertainty. They carried with them the weight of their parents' love and the pain of separation.
The trains pulled away, leaving behind a trail of heartbreak and a glimmer of hope. Each departing train represented a triumph against the odds, a victory for compassion and courage in the face of evil. Nicholas Winton's work was fraught with danger. He had to navigate a web of bureaucracy and evade the watchful eyes of the Nazi regime. He forged documents, bribed officials, and used every ounce of his cunning to secure the safe passage of the children entrusted to his care. Every child saved was a victory against tyranny, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. Winton understood the risks he was taking, but he refused to be deterred. He knew that every life saved was a blow against the darkness. He worked tirelessly, driven by an unwavering sense of purpose. For decades, Nicholas Winton's heroic actions remained a secret, even from his family. It was only in 1988 that his wife discovered a scrapbook in the attic, filled with photos and documents that revealed the truth about his extraordinary past.
The story became public, and Nicholas Winton was hailed as a hero. He was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II in 2003 and received numerous international honors. His story touched the hearts of millions around the world, a testament to the enduring power of courage, compassion, and selflessness.
Nicholas Winton's legacy extends far beyond the 669 children he saved. His story serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, one person can make a difference. The children he rescued went on to live full lives, raising families of their own.
They became known as Nicky's children, forever grateful for the man who gave them a second chance at life. In the words of Nicholas Winton himself, "Don't be content in your life just to do no wrong. Be prepared every day to try and do some good." His life stands as a shining example of the power of one person to make a profound and lasting impact on the world.